So we're
We will,
talking
so.
about livers?
We could talk about liver.
Whatever.
Something we all have in
And-
common.
Okay, go.
Liver talk.
Life is often referred to as a journey, an expedition that includes an infinite number of choices, obstacles, even gifts that ultimately make us who we are. Also immeasurable are the influences of the people whose journeys intersect with our own. The journeys of Mark and Sarah were incredibly and happily altered thanks to the choices and the gifts of Natasha and Anna at the intersection that brought these four lives together. Natasha Sanchez and Sarah D'Angelo met at a training years ago.
Sarah was there at my training. She was just a lovely human being. She has a beautiful, sensitive heart. You can see the wisdom in her thoughtfulness and her care. I don't know, I just loved her.
Natasha is one of those people, she's my daughter's age. She's a lovely person. I totally admire her and appreciate the way she raises her children.
Afterward, they kept in contact, but the fact that Sarah had been diagnosed with elevated liver enzymes decades earlier never came up. She'd been a nurse for years in many different places. She knew her risk for hepatitis C was high.
I did not have any idea, and there was no test for hepatitis C at the time that I was first told that there was my liver enzymes were off, and I needed to watch what I ate.
More than a decade later, Sarah was officially diagnosed. She researched options and participated in several clinical trials, including one to cure Hep C at the Texas Liver Institute.
So they found this tiny tumor in my liver through this study.
At first, it was too small to treat, but it grew, and she ultimately got a new diagnosis: cancer. She was referred to University Health System Transplant Center, where they told her the waiting list for a liver from a deceased donor can be many years.
And it's really because of how livers are allocated nationally. And so these are patients who are symptomatic, but their numbers really don't define how symptomatic they are.
Fortunately, University has the second largest living donor liver transplant program in the country. It's a life-saving option.
And what living donor liver transplant really accomplishes, and which has been shown in multiple studies across the world, is that it allows us to do the transplant when the recipient is in functional condition. And that's when they're most likely to make a successful recovery.
These are complex operations that require a highly skilled team.
All in all, it's a whole day affair. The donor operation finishes much earlier than the recipient operation. The recipient operation finishes sometime in the late afternoon. So it's basically effort of two full surgical teams operating almost simultaneously.
The life of Anna Moreno intersected with that of Mark Blair's even before she was born. She's his daughter. Mark was a mortician with the Air Force mortuary program and worked many of the worst mass casualty disasters of the 20th century.
Actually, the very first mass fatality I was involved with was the end of Jonestown. And I was 27 then. And then 9/11 was, we moved all of the Pentagon dead to Dover to our mortuary there. And so that was the last, large event.
By the time he began having symptoms of liver disease, Mark had retired and moved to Mississippi.
He had been kind of just sick, and we weren't really sure what was wrong.
She was getting increasingly worried. On the phone one day, he told her that he'd need a new liver.
And then that's when I finally said, okay, I've got to just go to Mississippi. I've got to talk to the doctors because I don't fully understand, is this what's really happening?
She spent 2 days visiting with his doctors.
Said, you've got to move to San Antonio. You can't do this here. There's nobody here for you to help you.
He moved in with Anna and her husband. She got him an appointment at the Texas Liver Institute. They heard the same news about the shortage of donated livers.
I was like, yes, absolutely. Whatever we have to do, we're going to figure this out. Why would we not? Why are we going to wait years and years and you continue to get sick?
Her dad was not so sure.
But then finally when I explained, but I'm going to be fine. I've got a liver and science is amazing and the doctors are great and who cares? Let's try it, And he finally got on board.
Up in the Austin area, Sarah's family was on board to be tested too.
My daughter got tested. My one daughter was pregnant, and as soon as she had the baby, she was going to be tested. I used to have a foster child, and she was tested. Neither of those was a match.
One day, Natasha was scrolling through Facebook and saw that Sarah's daughter had posted a vague message about her mom going through something hard.
I immediately text Sarah and say, what is your daughter talking about that you're not well? And she said, I found out I had liver cancer. I have tumors on my liver.
She texted back.
I said, okay, I'm praying 100%. What else can I do for you? And what do we need to do? Let's beat this. She said, well, I don't know if maybe you want to send out a note, maybe at church, to see if anybody has the heart to donate a liver, because that's really what they've told me needs to happen. I was like, okay, give me the information. Where would they get in touch? And then she said they need to either have A or O positive blood. And I just remember thinking, well, I'm O positive.
A couple of months later, she was still thinking about it. She called University Health System Transplant Center, but she didn't tell Sarah. She was thinking, I might not even be a match.
And I don't want to cause stress. She's a mother of daughters. I know my mother would have been up front, no. So I don't know. It just seemed like the right thing to do. I don't know.
It's a rigorous process.
And so when a living donor comes to our transplant center, we really try to complete this entire evaluation, within, a day or a day and a half at most.
Results came back pretty quickly. Natasha was a match for Sarah.
In my head, I'm like, okay, how does this work? They're like, well, you pick the date. We normally do surgeries on these days and yada, yada.
Sarah got the call too.
I was dumbfounded. She said, we have an altruistic donor that's come in and would like, and the liver is a match for you.
She didn't ask about the donor.
I knew they wouldn't tell me. I just asked, how good of a match is it? And they said, excellent.
The news was anything but excellent for Anna and her dad, Mark. She was not a match.
It was devastating, and it was kind of frustrating to know that I spent all day long getting poked and prodded and, all this, and it was kind of like all for nothing, that's how I felt. I'm like, there's got to be, do something else.
And that's exactly what the liver transplant team at University Health System was thinking too. They'd been working on a plan for paired liver donor transplantation for a couple of months.
We did not want to reject a healthy, motivated donor. We just wanted to find ways around that, or innovative ways, so that we could allow this donor to still help their recipient.
Natasha got the call.
We have this person over here that has a person, but they don't match.
Because of privacy laws, they couldn't tell her anything about the pair, but they told her she was also a match for this other person. They could swap donors. They asked her the big question.
Would you be game for that? And I said, if the Lord lines it up, then sure.
By saying yes, she could save 2 people. Anna got a call too and immediately said yes.
And I was just already jumping the gun, okay, let's go, let's take him to the hospital.
Mark was amazed that a total stranger would do this for him, but he worried about Anna.
Well, yeah, I had several conversations with her about, we don't have to do this. There's no guarantee you'll not be affected, with something. Anything can go wrong when you start removing organs from people and putting new ones in. It's, but she just had an upbeat, no big deal, we'll get it done.
This would be the first living donor paired exchange in the country.
So we were really excited after we approached Mr. Blair and got his agreement. We moved forward and set the dates for surgery, which would be 2 consecutive days of transplantation.
The day before was the hardest for Natasha.
It's like, holy cannoli, what if I die? And so that day was hard. I didn't really get emotional. It was just like, what if I am making a bad decision? I didn't talk about it with my husband very much because he's more of a worrier than me, and so I didn't want to put any of that in his mind, because I'm sure he's already worried about his own things, right? I'm his wife, and I'm the mother of his children, yada yada. So that day was really hard, and my daughter woke up that night at like 4 a.m, and she goes, "Mama," like wide awake, looking at me in the dark, "Mama, what if I miss you?" Woof, I didn't sleep after that.
And she could have backed out at any time. Sarah had already received a portion of Anna's liver the day before. She remembers being in pre-op.
When I went into the room, the doctors and the nurses were all really cheery. I mean, really cheery. And I'm going, they really love their job. But it was, and one person came up to me and said, "You're part of that exchange." And I'm, no.
She had no idea about the swap until a couple of days later, when Natasha walked into her room.
She comes in the room, she has on her hospital gown, and she has her bag, she's carrying her pole. It took a second for me to realize, yeah, I'm gonna cry. Same as you. You know, it was remarkable. And then she explained the whole thing, but I can't even describe how shocked I was.
She's still amazed.
It's really weird. You know, these two women, though, and their families, it's been so great to get to know them even better. I mean, I knew I loved Natasha, but I didn't know as much about her as I know now. And Anna is just, I mean, she's the kind of young woman that we want in our world.
She feels a lifelong bond with Anna now.
And even Mark and I don't talk as much as the two, you know, the women are a little chatty, but he's really a sweetheart. And they're my family now.
Mark remembers meeting Natasha for the first time. It was 5 days after his operation.
I was just amazed. He said, "I don't know what to say to you." I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I sent out an email to all my friends with a picture of Natasha, me, and Anna in my hospital room. And I said, what do you say to a stranger that, just gives you life? I said, I don't know.
A life-saving gift at the intersection of life and love.